Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be a little different than usual. It's going to be an Escape from Tarkov patch 0.14 weapon tier list. I haven't done a tier list before, but I feel like a lot of people are wondering what guns are in the meta right now, especially with all the changes to recoil and armor plates. So I'm going to say what I think are the highest ranking weapons right now, especially after playing around with them for like 3 or so months. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on what I think are the best weapons at this point in the wipe. And I'm going to break down the weapons based on a couple things. The main thing will be like just overall usefulness, consistency, and just like steadiness when shooting. There'll be other factors like price, availability, ammo, like range, recoil, all that nonsense. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So I'm probably going to start off with the lowest ranking weapons. A lot of these are going to be pistols and shotguns. I feel like right now, with the recent changes to recoil, I feel like the worst weapons in the game right now are weapons that kind of limit your ability to shoot consistent and fast. They have like some gimmick, like a pump shotgun or a pistol. So yeah, most of these starter guns that I think are the worst are going to be shotguns and pistols. It is one of the worst shotguns in the game. You only get 2 shots and you have to reload. It doesn't do extra damage or anything, so there is literally no reason you would ever use a pump shotgun in this game. This one on the bright side counts as a pistol, so I mean, that's kind of cool, but I still wouldn't use it. So those are terrible. I'm going to put the APB and basically all the 9x18 pistols in F tier. They are not good. Most of them have small mags. You can get a drum for the PM pistol. They made the iron sights worse this patch. And they used to be really good. It was probably one of my favorite pistol irons, but yeah, they made it worse. And the revolver pistols, not good. Very low ammo count. They can deal high flash, but really bad reloads. Just no real reason why you would ever use them over the other pistols in the game. So yeah, all these weapons are F tier. Other guns that I feel like are very bad in comparison, put the APS up there. Basically the same thing as the APB, just no stock, not suppressed. APB is better. So I will be picking guns that I think are like the better of the tier at the top. I'll try to do that. So like I would prefer using the sawed-off over the revolvers and the PM pistols. So like top left, whatever's at the beginning, I think are the better of the tier, even though they're all low tier. So like I would take an APB or a sawed-off over all these other guns. Definitely put the TT up there. This gun is absolutely horrible. Really low mag size. Ammo's not great. No real reason you'd ever use it. They don't have the Reshala TT on this, but I would obviously rank it as the same thing. Just most of those guns are just completely worthless. Like there's never a raid where you'd want to spend money on them. I would also put the pump shotgun up here, just not a good weapon. I'd probably even like prefer the pistol over it. The problem with pump shotguns is like shotguns don't do extra damage when they're like pump or double barrel, so I would just never choose any of these guns that are pumps over anything that are semi-auto shotguns, so I'm just going to put them all low ranking. You also have to think for the price, like yeah, some of them might be cheap, but if you load into a raid, like realistically, right, if I go open up a toolbox and I find some bolts and sell on the floor, I'm going to have enough money to go the extra tier up and just buy a semi-auto. So there is no reason you should ever be running pump shotguns, or even like a bolt shotgun like the Taz. This gun is horrible. I will also put revolver shotgun down here. I'll put it at the top of like F tier for the sake of a revolver shotgun can't jam. You can never jam these guns no matter what the durability. So if you ever picked one up, you always know it shoots, but slow fire rate, really bad like shooting tempo. They're accurate, but reload animation's bad too. I would just never use them. That might be it for F tier, because I'm talking these guns are like bottom of the barrel horrible. Like nothing in the game compares to how bad those guns are. There's never a point in the wipe where I would ever use any of these for any reason. Okay, moving on to D tier. D tier will be a lot of pistols still. Maybe some bad SMGs, couple semi-guns. But for D tier, like if I was starting off early wipe and I had to choose a like super budget gun to go into raid with, it would probably be these. Because even if I'm starting early wipe, Most of these guns I will get into 1v1s and lose fights with because there's some weird gimmick behind shooting that will just like slow you down, whether it be like slow shot speed, bad reloads, bad recoil. They're just never really useful in any fight unless you literally have nothing, but at that point I would just go farm money and then buy D tier weapons anyways. So even though a lot of these guns I will be saying are bad, I would still recommend them if you are starting the wipe or if you're doing maybe a quest like Stirrup or something like that, you know? So starting with these guns, Glock 18 I might even put in C tier, but for now we'll put it at the top of D tier. It's full auto, so if you put a drum on it, a stock, like if you're mag dumping, you can definitely pick up kills, even on really geared people, but it's very inconsistent. If you're shooting this gun, you would know that the recoil on it is terrible. It's pretty random. You're never going to be like consistently hitting all of your shots, so I don't know, point blank, you can get kills with it, but you don't see anyone picking up this gun every raid to like run with like endgame kits. Okay, so starting off our D tier weapons, I will be putting in probably like the Glock, the 9x19 pistols for the most part. Besides the Glock 18, I think that gun's a bit better than the others. These Glocks are basically the same. You can mod them to where they're decent, but I would never be running these as like a primary gun. You can always run them as a secondary. Most people don't do that. They're good for quests like Stirrup, but they're just not really good for fighting teams. Like, you'd never really win any fights against geared players with them. So I'm just going to put them in D tier. I just wouldn't use any of these pistols over anything, even like a stock MP5 or like a Keter. So basically all pistols will be D tier. There's always viability to get kills with them, but they are just not great weapons. 45 pistols, I will say, are better than all the 9x19s. You can shoot 45 AP out of them. Those can pretty consistently one-tap like tier 4 helmets, so if you fight a guy with like a U-lock, you can get a one-hit on them. If you're hitting chest shots, it should be two-hitting a lot of people, but really low mag size on most of these. Not that good, but they're an option. Shrimp shoots pretty good ammo, but yeah, I would never really buy this thing. I'd put it over like all the other pistols that aren't like maybe the 9x19 Glocks. RSH, kind of like a gimmick weapon. The thing with the RSH is that it shoots really high tier ammo. I'll probably put that in C tier just because it shoots a good bullet. PT26R, this is probably my favorite out of all the 9x19 pistols. The iron sight shoots very like steady. It shoots directly at the tip of the iron. It's really easy to hit headshots with this gun. This gun in the previous patches was the same thing with like the PM pistol where they had really, really good irons. It's always easy to hit a shot. The guns themselves aren't great, but most of the time you're getting a kill with a pistol, it's from a one tap in the head. So I'd say this has some of the nicest irons out of all the 9x19 pistols. Maybe I'll put it behind the Glocks just for like recoil and attachments, but it's a pretty solid choice. Once again, just not a great weapon in the grand scheme of things. All these other pistols are tiers above. I'll probably put them up. That's most pistols out of the way. Now I think we're going to move to like bolties. So in the terms of PvP, bolties are extremely bad, right? If I was doing like a, like I wanted to go farm rogues or like a budget kit, like if this was purely based on budget, some of these things would be changed around. But in the grand scheme of things, bolties are really bad. You only have one shot. You basically have to headshot. If you miss that, you're dead. You can never swing a PMC with the bolty, because if you miss your one shot, you die to basically anything in the game, even pistols. So bolties are just horrible. Even if they shoot good bullets, you would never put a bolty over any semi-auto in the game. Like if I put an SA58 and I built it for Ergo and put a scope on it, I'd pick it over every bolty in the game. So yeah. Unfortunately, basically all bolties are going to be going into D tier. I will say that some bolt actions are better than others. And depending on the scope or the iron sight, that also changes things. So if I were to run like a DVL suppressed, right? Shorter barrel, it'd actually have really good ergo. I'd say it's better out of all the snipers. R700 is really cheap. If I was going to run a sniper with nothing on it, I'd put the Mosin inventory above everything else. It has the best iron sights. You can hit a iron sight headshot at 100 meters in this game, aiming directly on, not like accounting for bullet drop. It shoots super straight. It's actually a really good bolty, but yeah, once again, in the terms of fighting people in PvP, you're not going to be winning fights unless you hit your one headshot, which goes for every gun in the game. So bolties are not that good. VPO is good for like early quests. You put AP in it. It's mag fed. You don't have to deal with like a bolting animation of putting all the shots in the chamber. T5000's okay. No real point in using either of these guns over the pre-existing ones. It does have mags, but I don't know. I just wouldn't use these. They're not great guns. I've used all of them, and I would never use them again if I didn't have to. Let's see. Other guns that I would pit in D tier. Probably pit some of these SMGs in there. I'll put the MP18. I consider this thing a bolty. Something that's unique about this gun is that if you see the MP in the start of the name, this technically counts as a shotgun. So if you have a quest to kill stuff with MP series shotguns, even like a daily or a weekly, you can actually use this gun. So it's weird because it shoots Mosin ammo. I don't know the like technicality behind it, but this gun can be used for shotgun quests. I wouldn't use it. It's a single shot, but maybe if you want some range, you can run 2 guns. It's very cheap. So like put a cheap scope on this thing, get headshots cross map, count for shotgun kills. And another D tier gun. I might have to put the UMP up here, which is crazy because in previous wipes, I'd probably put this as like an A tier gun. But recently got absolutely hard nerfed with the recoil changes. This gun used to shoot completely flat. Now it's super bouncy, low fire rate. Can buy 45 AP now off of traders, which is good. So there's a reason to use it in the early game. But for like a late game gun choice, I would never pick this thing up. It is really bad, really nerfed. I will also put the MP5K up here. It's basically just worse even to a stock MP5 in every way. It has a weird running animation when you sprint that like blocks your screen. Can't put attachments on it like muzzles, stock, anything. You can put drums on it, you can put a red dot, but this gun stinks. I would never use it. It's really bad. With any SMG, if you're point blank on somebody, like you're always going to be able to pick up a kill, but it just doesn't shoot flat. You'll miss kills to bad RNG when you're shooting. I'll probably put all the Ketters up here in D tier. They're probably better than the MP5. The bright side about the Ketter, extremely cheap, 30 round mags, way too many ammo options. There's like 20 bullets for this gun for no reason, even though like only 3 of them are good. And they're not even that good. But you do get 30 round mags, super cheap. Put a laser on these ones, red dots. The suppressed one you can't, but I would prefer the suppressed one over the loud ones any day. It's fast fire rate. They can have high flash. You can get kills with them, but in comparison to other guns, just not very great. But yeah, PPSH, another just fast firing SMG, really bad ammo. You can run flesh in it, it could be okay. You can run a drum mag on it, 75 rounder, I think. But just not a great gun. Loud only means you have to deal with muzzle flash. You're never really going to be consistently hitting anything. No tac device. Just overall bad weapon. Can't jam, that's the bright side once again. So there's a case and use for it, but I would never pick it over any of the other guns in PvP. The RPK, I might put in D tier too. This gun is really bad this way. You don't have to mod it much, but like, I would actually pick a UMP over an RPK. This gun is nerfed horribly. It's crazy because it used to be one of the best guns in the game back when like PK06 was meta. Before inertia, it shot super flat, didn't really need to mod it. 545 was a good feeling ammo, but this thing has just been like nuclear hard nerfed when it comes to recoil. It's super bouncy. No real reason you would ever buy this gun. You could run it early game when you get like if you pick bear, but yeah, I wouldn't pick it over any other 545 gun in the game. Like, I would take every AK for ergo reasons. All the short guns over it. Like, it is, I would say, the worst 545 gun in the game. I'd even pick the SAG because this thing actually like shoots flat. Yeah, RPK, sadly a terrible gun this wipe. I'm gonna put the Saiga 9 in D tier also. This gun's very bad. You can mod it with like a suppressor and put a like a hollow on it, run 30 rounders, and it would shoot like really, really flat, right? But the bullet velocity is just horrible. Just not a great gun. Like, you'd lose basically any close range fight with it just due to DPS reasons. You're not gonna be putting out enough damage to actually kill anyone with gear on. They have the face shield. They're basically unkillable unless you hit a neck shot, and it's just not a reliable weapon. You can definitely have fun with it though. I'll run it every once in a while. I think it's a cool gun, but just not a great weapon for PvP. So we have the VPO 209. I put this in D tier. I've only ran it a couple times this wipe, but the problem with these guns, the recoil is kind of jumpy. The gun feels floaty when you're spamming it. It's kind of hard to hit shots consistently. The bright side shoots a really high flash ammo. If you run AP in it, the 366 AP can be one-hitting the chest on people up close. You'll be one-tapping most helmets. There's a use case for it, but just not a great weapon. And I would never run it over most of the DMRs that are going to be in higher tier. Once again, any gun in the game you can get a kill, but I would never use the 209. That's going to be it for D tier. I'll just give a good look again at F tier weapons, D tier weapons. I'd probably leave it at that. Just all of these guns, pretty garbage. If you have the option to buy other guns in the game, there's basically no reason to use any of these other than questing. Like, Osm infantry, once again, a lot of Tarkov shooter quests are good. M700, you gotta use it for hunting trip. A lot of pistols you could use for stirrup. I'd recommend using the 45s or the Glock 19s. UMP is a decent budget gun. Anything, once again, you can get a headshot, and it will always kill. But I would not use any of these guns in PvP for basically any reason other than early wiper questing. Okay, now we're getting into C tier guns. C tier guns, I would actually pit as like viable weapons. There's reason to use these in raid. Would probably be in your favor to even go out of your way to buy some of these because they're either good for budget, they just shoot good bullets, they're consistent. Just a lot better weapons. Still a couple bad ones in there, but we're basically getting into like useful gun categories. And let's start off with the pistols. So these were either going to be D tier, but I'm going to put them, these are going to be bottom C tier weapons. I would say the 5.7 is probably the best pistol in the game, but once again, 5.7 in comparison to any other primary gun in the game, it's just not going to hold up. Probably one of the best budget guns in the entire game. A lot of people will run this on like labs with like SS190. The thing about the 5.7, if you hit headshots, you have a really like good size mag, 20 round mag, low recoil, best pistol irons in the game probably. Suppress it. It just shoots good bullets. Solid gun. It is a pistol, so like if you're stand swinging somebody, like if you're strafing out in the open, you're trying to hit shots, pistols are terrible if you're strafing. So it'll basically lose to any primary, but really good pistol. Glock 18, kind of same case. Glock 18 is full auto, you can put a stock on it, 50 round drum. If you're point blank on anybody in the game, they can have like a Zabralo on an Alton, doesn't matter. It just shoots so fast, you can kill anyone in the game, especially with hollow points. But not consistent at all, really floaty when you're shooting it. You're basically never going to see somebody and say, I'm going to hit 50 for 50 on this guy, like hit the whole mag. You're going to be whiffing. Pretty luck-based weapon. Point blank, great gun. Anything other than that, pretty useless. RSH, shoots good ammo. Would never use it over an Ash 12 in any case or scenario, which is why it's C tier. It shoots a really, really good bullet. PS12B can be one-tapping high-tier armors. PS12B was a lot better last patch. Now with the armor changes, a lot of bullets that would like 50-50 gamble penning a tier 5 on the first shot are basically never penning a tier 5. So this gun, you'll just be shooting people even with tier 4s and they'll be tanking, but has the chance to go crazy. Usually won't. Fun gun to use, actually viable, does damage. You can even use it to kill Killa if you had one laying around. Put a scope on it, one-tap the helmet. So I'll put all those in C tier. This one might be a little controversial, but in the current state of the game, the AXMC is absolutely horrible. I've talked to so many people who I think are like very, very top tier players. The Lapua has the worst hit reg in the game. Like there's something wrong with 338 bullets right now. FMJ last patch before the recoil changes would 50-50 gamble penning a tier 5, right? So if a guy with a kilo armor swung me, I shoot him dead center chest, 50% chance he's dying on the first shot. Same with Alton shots. But now you'll have people swinging you in tier 3 armors, tier 4 armors, like people even wearing nothing. And they'll just be tanking multiple point blank chest shots. The ergo on this thing is absolutely horrible. You shoot it, everyone on the map knows you have the gun. And a lot of people, even with like bad weapons, like if I do with a UMP, heard you shoot a Lapua, he might push you. This gun is just like it has the potential, like if they fix the hit reg on this gun, it'd probably be like B or A tier. But I'm telling you, go play raids with this thing, shoot people, they'll just be tanking for no reason. This gun is horrible. Probably one of my favorite guns in the game, but sadly it just doesn't work well right now. Another one, 338 Lapua, same problem. Worst hit reg in the game. Ergo on this thing is awful. It's like when you're sitting around like 10 ergo on the suppressed guns or like 0 ergo on a suppressed gun, it can go up to I think around like 40 or 50 when you have like all loud attachments, ergo attachments on it. But you come across the problem of this gun's recoil is so high. It's definitely better this wipe than last wipe, but the recoil is so high. If you get into any mid-range fight, right? Let's say a guy at the UMP swings me. He starts shooting me. He's always going to beat me to the first shot because the ergo's higher. It's full auto, so he can be spamming me. And as soon as you get hit by any gun in the game, even a PPSH, even a Saiga 9, a cutter, you're going to be getting aim kicked and screen blurred. So it's just the fact that you can't beat anybody to a shot when you actually peek them, that you're just not going to hit anything as soon as you get into a fight where you're trading shots. You have to play deep, you have to play back, you have to pre-aim people, you have to get your shots off first. If everything is perfect and the hit reg is good, the gun's actually responsive, you can get kills with it, completely useful, like, you can have good raids with it. But in the current state of the game, this gun feels awful. It's the case with most of the bolties. It's just, you can't compare to other guns right now when everything in the game shoots flat, and your gun doesn't. So it's like people with worse guns than you will just pick up kills on you because the guns just don't perform well right now. So for the last couple of shotguns, other than the KS, we have the Super 90. This gun in previous wipes was actually a lot worse. It's way better now. So before, when hipfire was better and tac devices made a really big deal, the Super 90 could not take a tac device, so your hipfire was really bad on this gun. You'd always have to aim down sight, and shotguns excelled at hip firing. But now with the recoil changes, you want to ADS most of the time, so this not having a laser is no longer a big deal. It's like an indirect buff. You can get a massive mag on it. The only downside is that it has a weird shooting tempo, so it's a lot more rough to aim when you're spamming it, but it's not too big of a deal. You can get over it pretty easily. Along with the other shotguns, we're going to take like the Saiga 12. This gun, you can put a 20 round mag when it's full modded. If you have piranhas, flechettes, like any buckshot where you can spam it and it's still going to be low recoil. This gun feels pretty good up close, but with every shotgun that struggles at range, can't put it anywhere over C tier. It is a good gun though. 155 and the 153. Both of these guns are very cheap. You can get 8 round mags, another one in the chamber. You don't have to mod them that much. The default stocks are good. So just decent amount of ammo. The iron sight on the 153 is really good. You don't even have to run a red dot. If you do, I would run a hollow sight. I would try to get the EOTech if you can. If you can't, you can use like a 553 or something. Even an MRS would be okay just for visual clarity. But try to stick to hollows, put them at the rear of the gun. They'll shoot a lot flatter. Pretty solid choice. If I run a 153, I like to run 2 of them a lot of the time, so I can skip a reload animation. The gun's only like 20k, so you can mod them out for like 50k each. Shoot 9 shots. Instead of hitting a super long reload animation, you just go straight to another shotgun, another 9 shots, and you can do it once the fight is over. But solid gun, really cheap. Definitely a C tier. Okay, we also have the VSK and the 9A91. These guns are basically just worse versions of the Val and VSS. I would never use these guns over that gun. Once you have Flea unlocked, the Val and the VSS are not that expensive either, so there's just real no point in using these. You can pick them up off of AI scavs. They're kind of rare, but you can find them. If you're shooting some low tier bullet, like you have SP5, SPP, both those bullets are fine where it's like low enough recoil you can pick up kills. The gun is kind of bouncy. Can't really mod it that much or do anything to it, so it's just not overall a great weapon. If you did have high tier ammo like BP or SP6 and you got close to somebody where recoil wasn't much of a problem, you could insta-kill anyone with any kit just from the ammo. But yeah, I would not really run these guns over anything else in the game. They are viable, you can definitely get kills with them, but there's no real point compared to the Val. I'll probably put the SR2 up here also. This gun can shoot really good bullets. You can shoot BT, you can shoot the new like 7U4 ammo, whatever it's called. PS got nerfed. It's a solid gun. If you're hitting all your shots, you can get a kill. The problem with it, with a lot of SMGs, but mainly with the SR2, for me, is bullet velocity. Bullets shoot stupid slow. No real good attachments. You can put like a hollow sight on it, a suppressor, laser, whatever. But gun's a little floaty, doesn't feel great to shoot. And a lot of the times I find myself getting in fights with people strafing. I find it really hard to consistently hit all my shots with this thing. But shoots good ammo. I don't personally like using it. You do need it for a quest later in the wipe. It's not a kappa required quest, so you don't have to do it, but it's not a good gun, really floaty. Shoots good bullets. Just a gun that's viable, but I would never choose it over most of the other options. I'll probably also pit like Pepper Hunter in C tier. I would choose this gun over the Lapuas, to be honest. The Vepr Hunter's gone through a lot of patches where it was like OP off rip because the ammo was way too good and they got nerfed, and then it became really bad and people stopped using it entirely. And with the recoil changes, it actually shoots really flat. I was using it the other day. I put like a 2x on it, 10 round mag, suppressor. Shoots really flat, shoots good bullets. Really quiet gun. It's cheap. I'd say M80, M62, like anything that's 7.62 by 5.1 right now, that is the best bullet in the game, hands down. So shooting the best bullet in the game, even if the gun itself isn't amazing, it's a solid choice. There's a reason to pick it in raids. I think it's a pretty good gun. I will probably put M1A in the same tier. This gun, if you caught me last wipe, I'd probably put the M1A in A tier. I think it was an amazing gun. This gun got hard nerfed for absolutely no reason. A lot of unfortunate balance changes this wipe to certain weapons. A lot of high tier meta guns got dropped down significantly for no reason. It's like a good example would be RD704, M4, you know, M1A. There's a couple meta guns that are like extremely expensive to run, and they all got hard nerfed just because they wanted a meta shift, and I don't think the meta shift was good. But yeah, M1A, amazing gun, got nuked, not that good anymore. I have a surprising comparison later in the end for this gun on a gun that clears the M1A this wipe. I would never use it over it. We'll get to that. RFB, probably put it in C tier as well. Budget gun, same as M1A and the Pepper Hunter. The RFB got insanely buffed this wipe. I was running this thing early wipe with the Schmidt Bender 3-12 on the 34mm scope mount. You put 30 round mags in it. You're on BCP early wipe until you get M80. M80 once you get it unlocked. This thing slams people. The downside is, unless you do that weird rangefinder on top of your scope mount, you can't run attack device. Not great ergo, but the gun shoots really flat compared to any wipe that the gun's been in the game. You can kill geared people with it easily. Just the downside of like an awkward gun to shoot, doesn't feel amazing to like track people with, but if you're scoped in and a guy walks in front of you while you're crouched, you should basically win every fight with this gun. A very, very sad decision will be the RFB in C tier. This gun, last patch, I would argue was the best gun in the entire game, and it wasn't even close. I'd say it was the #1 best gun in the game. This wipe, for whatever reason, they nerfed it into the floor. This gun is terrible. It has some of the worst recoil out of any full auto gun in the entire game. It's still an endgame trader weapon. You don't have access to buy BP, so you basically have to run PP ammo. Those bullets, hit reg feels awful right now. So it's like your ammo availability of the gun, awful. It's an endgame trader weapon. Don't think you can buy it on the flea. The attachments that it runs are like expensive meta attachments that fit on other guns that are S and A tier. If you go into a raid with this thing, put a scope on it, and try to full auto it. This thing's awful compared to previous wipes. Really sad to see, but yeah, RD704 not good anymore. And pitting the RD704 there, I will probably have to pit majority of the 7.62 AKs into C tier. They are not that good. All 7.62 AKs feel like they got a nerf this wipe. The AKM, there was a point when it was a meta gun. This wipe it is not. The recoil feels really high. They are kind of cheap on the bright side, so if you want like a budget gun that you can mod out, there's points in early game where I would be running AKMs, but same thing with the RFB. Just every 7.62 39 AK feels horrible right now. They all got nerfed. They shoot really floaty. If you're stand shooting and like strafing at anybody, you will catch yourself losing fights multiple times because you can't keep your aim on target because they're too bouncy. They're low fire rate. If you get your hands on BP, all these guns can kill for sure, but there is a better 7.62 option you can buy this wipe. So I would not be buying any of these. They are C tier for me. This gun, the AVT and the SVT, I'll be putting both of these in C tier. The SVT and the AVT are amazing for like kilo farming. They one-tap basically any helmet in the game. The bright side about them is if you play streets a lot and you fight Kaban, you'll get 300 rounds of like BT. You can get 300 rounds of BS, SMB, PS, whatever, you know, like the high tier Mosin ammos. You can get plenty of those if you play streets. They're kind of easy to get off of like Sturman and stuff too. So over the course of playing a wipe, you'll always have high tier ammo to be running in this gun. It shoots pretty flat. I like the SVT more than the AVT just for the fact you can put a scope on it, and the full auto is never really useful unless you're point blank. So, not amazing weapons, but there's just a lot of viability to use them over the courses of the wipe, whether that come to like price, availability, whatever. Solid gun. Put that in C tier. Okay, so another C tier gun. I'd probably put the VPO-136 up here. This is a 7.62x39 semi-auto. So it's basically just an AKM, but it can't go full auto. I will say if you're using it for like longer range, kind of like an Adar, and you're just spam clicking, it is a lot better than all the other full autos when you put it on semi. It just feels more consistent. A lot of the times when you have a full auto gun and then you try spam clicking, it'll double shot and it will throw your aim off and it'll just throw your whole spray and then you might end up dying. So if you want to specifically run an AK on semi, it actually feels pretty good. You do lose out on DPS since you can't go full, but it's a solid overall gun. I would definitely put it in C tier. Next up, for the SMGs that I would put in C tier. These are just the lower ranking of the SMGs I feel like currently in the game. I'll probably put the MP9s up there. The MP9s in the current state of the game are not that great. I guess they've never been that good. The problem with them is they shoot so fast and they have such small mags that you just run out of ammo before you can do a lot. You're never really getting into a fight where you're getting spray transfers off, like you can get more than one person with the mag. Recently, I've been running into a lot of players using these guns, and like 4 out of 4 times I've been shot at by this gun. They've gotten the drop on me, they full autoed, and they don't kill me by the 30th bullet, and they lose out on their whole mag, and I kill them in reloads. So, I mean, the DPS value of the gun can be insane. If you have rip ammo, AP, doesn't really matter. If you hit all the shots, people can die, but it's just a little bouncy. It's hard to get the start of the spray down, and by the time you are shooting steady, you only have like 10 bullets left. So, I don't know. There's a use case where these guns are good, but I would not put them anywhere above C tier. I will also put the STM in C tier probably. This gun was like, this thing's almost good enough to be B tier for the sake of the price. You can run this gun absolutely stock as you see it in the picture, and it will shoot dead flat, no recoil at all. It shoots 9x19, but you can run rip ammo in it and spam people's legs. And when I'm talking spam, I mean click as fast as you possibly can, and you can shoot like 80 meters. You can put a scope on it and cross map people with basically any ammo. Hollow points to shoot the legs, AP to shoot the head. Like any distance you see a guy, you can click as fast as you want, and you can hit every shot as long as you know how to lead it. The problem with the gun is the DPS up close. It suffers the same problem that the Saiga 9 has, but I think this gun's a lot better, has better mags, you can run drums, more attachments. It's just overall a better gun than the Saiga 9. It's solid, you'll lose to DPS, but fun gun to run, I'd definitely try it out. This is a tough one, but I'm going to have to put the M4 in C tier this wipe too. M4 last wipe, S tier gun. Arguably the best guns in the game last wipe was like RD and M4 and Mutant. The M4 also got just absolutely hard nerfed the same way the RD did. It is so expensive to mod this gun. Like last wipe, this wipe, it can be like 500, 600k to run an M4 best in slot. Like it is an extremely expensive gun. It got just nuclear nerfed. Like it shot so fast, so flat. It was like, you could just choose it in any situation and the M4 would perform. They just hit the recoil so bad. It's so jumpy. If you're stand strafing with the M4, you'll lose fights because of how bouncy it is if you're not like 10 meters off somebody. So, I don't know. I wish this gun was better. It is not this wipe. It has been nerfed badly. I would not use it for basically any situation. Like, if we're talking price to performance, the M4 would be the bottom of F tier. It still shoots decent ammo. It still shoots at a good fire rate. If you mod it, it can be solid. It's just not what it used to be. This gun could be bottom B tier, but I'm going to put it at top of C tier. With the best in slot build, can still be useful, but I would not be running that gun. Okay, and for the 545 AKs, I will put basically all of these in C tier except for like one. The main deal with the 545 AKs is that their flesh damage is really low. They would be in B tier if they had higher flesh, like if they were the equivalent of like 556. They shoot pretty flat. If you run a waffle suppressor on them, they can be really good. Like, there's good mods for these guns, Zukov stocks, whatever. They're relatively cheap to mod. But yeah, the low flesh definitely holds them back. If they shot a little steadier to where you could actually consistently hit every single shot, the flesh damage would not matter as much, but that's not the case. They're overall solid guns. You can definitely pick up kills with them. I was running them the other day, but they are just held back from being A tier up from that. I might pit the AK-12. Damn, this is where it gets hard. I don't know if I want to pit some guns in C or B tier, because the S tier is going to be pretty small. There's going to be a lot of guns between A and B, and very few in S tier. But I'm skeptical with the AK-12, because this gun, from my experience, shoots better than all the other 545 AKs. I don't know if it's good enough to consider it a B tier weapon. It is kind of a starter gun. It doesn't shoot that flat. Definitely shoots worse suppressed. It's still 545, so the flesh is low. It's just really hard to recommend a 545 gun to be in B tier with the current state of how underperforming the ammo is. So I'll probably leave it there. The AK-105, I'm also going to have to pit into C tier. This gun has pretty good ergo. It's a lot shorter. I feel like a lot of short guns this wipe feel pretty good, just because like you really want to be ADSing on people when you're fighting them this wipe. So short guns, when you're swinging out of doorways, the fact that they don't go down as much, they feel a lot better than most of the long guns. So AK-105 is pretty solid, still pretty bouncy, kind of floaty. 545, you know, they have their situations, but they're not always the best. I would have to put it in C tier. KS-23. This gun's weird because it's kind of just like a gimmick gun. It's a cheese gun. This gun in some scenarios is S tier, in some it's F tier. It's a shotgun. Problem with any shotgun is range. The KS-23 can still just one-tap you full health, but they nerfed the accuracy when you're aiming on sight so bad. They nerfed the bullet spread. It's just a weird gun. It doesn't really have a place. It's more of like a cheese weapon for camping corners. I would never really run them in any fight. If I did, I'd probably run 2 of them so I wouldn't have to reload them on fights, and I can just like constantly peek people. Yeah, not an amazing weapon. It's just a gimmick. It's hard to rank it like on the high end or low end of anything. I'll put it in C tier. Then I'm having a hard look at the rest of the guns because I don't feel like there's really anything else I'd consider like B tier. I'm still looking at the AKs. I feel like this, just being a 7.62 AK, I'm going to have to put it in C tier. Just kind of falls into the same category as every other AK. Even the 101 and 102, these guns got nerfed. If you caught me last wipe, I'd be putting in the 101 in an A tier. I think it'd be the top of A tier. It had some of the lowest recoil in the game. It was just a beam from any distance. 5.56, amazing bullet, shoots super flat, super fast. Just really consistent guns. Like, anything that's 5.56 was just consistent, and that's why I liked it. This wipe, a little bit floatier. There's no real point in shooting a slow fire rate floaty gun. If it's going to be 5.56, I'd rather it shoot fast or steady. So it's kind of just like the worst of both. But it's still like, it's solid, has a really good ergo. Feels good to run. I'd put it about the same as all the other guns in this category. C tier is definitely going to be the biggest category. And from the looks of it, that might be it in C tier. We might be moving up now. I think so. Yeah, so let's get into B tier. So B tier guns, I would consider actually good guns. I would go out of my way to use these in basically any raid. Once again, not as good as S tier guns, obviously, but these guns, oh. Okay, second glance, there's a couple more guns that need to go into C tier. I look at these guns and I still think last swipe, but then I have to remember it's not last swipe, it's this swipe, right? So these might be some hot take guns. These are absolutely C tiers. Last swipe, they were best in slots. SR25, RSAS, G28. It's the same problem that the M1A has when you max mod them. These guns last swipe were the best of the best. They all shoot amazing bullets, but, you know, only having like 25 round mags in some of them. The problem with these guns is that their recoil got nerfed so bad. The RSAS, the SR25, the G28, the M1A, they were all beams last wipe. Some of them had low ergo, but this wipe, they are all floaty. If you go into the range with any of these guns, I'll show a quick example. These guns shoot side to side so much. If you're spamming these guns, they all get outperformed by the SKS in every way possible when it comes to ergo, when it comes to mag size, when it comes to recoil. All these guns used to be amazing. They are now hard nerfed. Their price is just unjustified. Like, I can't be asked to max mod out an SR25 and RSAS and G28. M1A, they're all so expensive and they don't shoot as good as the SKS. The bullets they fire are still top tier bullets, which is why I would pit these as actual top tier C tier weapons. I'll try to organize it. I'll cut to a clip where all this is organized to where I actually think they belong in C tier. But yeah, these guns all hard nerfed. I could put them bottom B tier, but I'm going to put them in C tier because these last couple guns are going to be more evened out. SVD actually got hard buff this wipe. I'd probably put it in B tier, solid gun. The RPDs, hard to say if I'd put an RPD in B tier. I'd say RPD would go top C tier for the sake of the price to performance. The RPDs are extremely cheap when you get them unlocked on traders. The RPD-N comes with a OKP7 when you buy it. It's a short barrel. They shoot really flat, 100 round mags. You can put PP ammo in it. You can put US, PS, doesn't really matter. Any budget ammo, when you're just shooting 100 bullets at somebody with low recoil, it's solid. But it's not super low recoil, right? It's still a 7.62. Can't really beam like every bullet with it, so the time to kill is never going to feel really fast consistent. It's just more the fact of you never have to reload, and you can really just shoot as many bullets as you want at anything. Would put that gun in C tier just because I don't want to have it in B tier. I think that is it. I'm going to call that good on C tier. We're going to go full in B tier weapons. So, starting off in B tier, we are going to put some SMGs in here. I'm going to put, when I say some, I probably mean about all the SMGs that are left. So, Vectors, really, really good guns, super short, insane fire rate, they shoot good ammo. If you have PvP and a 9mm one or AP, absolutely shreds anyone, doesn't matter what they're using. People can be pushing with tier 6 armor. The fact is, the gun shoots so fast, if you're hitting consistent shots, anybody will die, no matter what. It kind of has the same thing going on where like the Glock 18 had, where with the Glock 18, if you catch somebody point blank, you can kill them with anything. But the Vector, if you aim down sight, you can actually hit majority of your shots over long distance. The 45 AP is insane. The flash damage on all the other rounds is insane. With rip ammo, you can be like 3-tapping people in like the stomach or legs. So these guns, insane time to kill, really, really fast. They are a bit floaty, so it can be hard to track people sometimes. But when you stand swing with them, the floatiness of the gun doesn't really increase. So no matter how you're moving, standing still or moving, the gun will shoot about the same. So it feels good to be moving around a lot with the Vectors compared to some of the other SMGs. I will have to pit the MP5 in B tier also. Some people might not agree with this, but, and I would even say this is biased. These 9x19 guns have been some of my most used guns this wipe. Once again, 9x19 isn't the best bullet in the game, but the fact is, these guns are so unbelievably cheap, and they have such low recoil that you basically don't even need to mod them, and they're shooting flat. If you run a stock MP5 and you just put a suppressor and a red dot on it, this thing is shooting dead flat. Like, You can mod it more, and I would say MP5 SD with like an EOTech. You run a scope on it if you care to, it's pretty solid. Doesn't really matter how you mod it. These guns shoot so flat that if you have good aim, these are high tier guns. Like, I would almost go as far as to put MP5 in A tier, but the ammo holds it back from being an A tier gun. These guns are amazing. I can't express enough how flat these things shoot. The MPX off of Mechanic Tier 3, the long barrel one, I basically buy that gun, I put a grip and a red dot on it, tac device, and just run it. Swap out the pistol grip, of course, too. But it comes with a good stock, good barrel, good handguard, good suppressor. Like, you don't have to best in slot these guns, and they will shoot dead flat. So if you have good aim, these are top tier guns. If your aim's not as good, I would run Vectors, just because the guns are better. But these have less recoil. If you have good aim, run these guns as your budget options, and you will slam people full kit with them. Okay, and for second to last in the SMGs, we have the P90. If you're on SS190 in this thing, it does have like 37 pen. It's pretty good. It comes with 50 round mags, which is nice. It's basically a drum. The only problem with the P90 mags is that they take so long to pack. It's a really slow reload speed. It's comparable to running like a Stanag or like a 60 rounder in a M4 or even the like ice cream cone in an AK. It takes way too long to pack, so if you do run it, it's probably better that you just buy a ton of ammo and fill up like 6 mags so you don't have to be packing mid-range. But they got a solid pen. It has decent flush damage. It's comparable to like 9mm. Pretty good gun. It shoots flat, not as flat as the 9mm on the left right here, like MP5 MPX, but it does shoot a bit more flat than the Vector from my experience, the 45. So it's just an in-between. You won't get as much accuracy out of it as the MP5, but it'll feel pretty good while strafing like the Vectors do. And all SMGs, the reason why SMGs are so good this wipe is with the introduction of new hitboxes and with the nerf to hip firing. You can ADS in doorways with all of these. MP7, super short barrel. If you ran it loud with a red dot, you can aim down sight and walk through doors and it wouldn't go down. All these guns are amazing. 40 round mags are solid. Suppressor's a little expensive on the MP7. And the low flash can feel a little bit rough. There's a lot of times where I feel FMJ feels better in the MP7 than APSX does, because APSX has 35 flash. You basically can never kill anybody with a headshot if you run APSX. If a guy runs at you with no helmet on, no face mask, and you shoot him in the head, he will live, because it does 35 flash and it would lose damage traveling distance. But all around, all SMGs solid. I definitely put all these up there. You will have to buy ammo restocks because you'll burn through it quick, but very solid guns. Other guns I'd put up in B tier is the Scars. These guns shoot very flat. I would almost move this Scar L down to C tier, because it is 5.56, and I think the other 5.56 guns are better, and this gun's a little blocky. I'm going to do that. Scar L, moving down to C tier. Scar H, definitely staying in B tier. I was running this gun the other day. Pretty underrated. You can run it long barrel, you can run it short barrel. Something that I did notice with the Scar, and I will put an example in the video, is if you run a hollow sight, the hollow sight sits so close above the pistol grip, like too close to your face, that the gun feels like it has high recoil. Right now, there's a meta in the game where people are running candid sights with candid grips to make their arms block bullets when they get shot because of the way you hold the gun. But when you run a candid sight on the Scar, the red dot's actually a lot further up on the gun, and it feels way better when it's in the middle of the gun. So if you're running a Scar H, run it with a candid sight, put on like a delta point, this gun slams. Like, it's really good. Downside, only 20 round mags, but you can shoot M80, M62, which are the best bullets in the game right now. So I would run Scar H, very solid gun. I would almost put it in A tier, but I feel like there's other guns that fight for the top. Another B tier gun. I put the VSS and the Val interchangeably. Yeah, they are separate guns on this. These guns have the most absurd damage per second up close in the game. Like, if you have SP6 in these guns, if you've done Capture and Outpost, if you have BP in these guns, these things instantly kill you no matter what you have on. The downside is that their camera recoil is a little high, so they don't feel that good mid-range as they did last wipe. They definitely don't feel good long range. The bolt velocity is really low, so you'll lose kills if people are walking sideways sometimes. But if you're up close to people, like, you can accidentally kill extra people. Like, if you think there's one and you pre-fired, you could kill 2 or 3. Like, this gun is insane. Really high DPS, really high pen, solid gun. Another solid B tier gun, I would probably put the 74UB up here above all the other full auto 545s. This gun has like hidden stats for some reason. It's slightly better than all of the other short AKs, even the long AKs. It just has really low visual recoil. It shoots steady. It's also a shorter barrel, which is nice. You'll usually end up swapping out the suppressor for a waffle. You can also run it loud. Something that I've noticed is that if you run the dust cover that has the mount on top of it that you can attach to it, if you run the hollow in the middle of the gun, it just shoots way flatter than if you ran it at the base of the gun with the bastion that people usually run. So I would definitely give that a try. It's good budget, it's good end game. It shoots the same ammo as all the other 545s, so it can have low flash, people can tank, but it's just the fact that it's a bit snappier, a bit shorter. It just feels better than the other 545s. I would have to keep it in B tier. And then we have the 556 MDR. This gun is a very good like budget option. You can still use it end game. You can run a lot of low tier ammos in it that are solid, like M855, and you still have all the other high tier options like 6A1, 55A1, 995, whatever you get your hands on. But this gun is solid, does not require a lot of modding, so it's really easy to pick up and use. It shoots relatively flat. The fire rate can be a little bit low, but I think it's an all-around solid gun. I would rather use this over the M4 in the current wipe, which is strange, but very solid gun right now. Definitely recommend it. And then a gun that I would only put this in B tier if you were more endgame. If you can buy PS12Bs and 20 round mags, this gun is very good. If you're up close, you'll basically insta-kill anyone with anything. The gun does run better loud than suppressed. It's amazing for killing scab bosses like Killa, or basically any boss as long as you hit them in the head. Extremely high flash damage, PS12B has good pen. The only downside to the gun would be higher recoil, smaller mag size, and the bullet velocity. The bullets that fly out of this thing are very slow, so you will have to lead if people are running sideways. It can take a bit to get used to, but once you are used to it, this gun is very solid, kills people really quick. A gun that I think a lot of people sleep on is the G36, definitely a B tier gun. This thing has solid fire rate, it's 5.56, it's very consistent. It's not that floaty. The only downsides of it is that the ergo can be kind of bad, but you can run short barrel versions of it and run handguards on it. Like people run like, or not handguards, foregrips. People run like SE5s, Para arms. And if you do run the longer handguard, you can run a bipod on the bottom of it that you can't like post up the bipod, but it does have negative recoil stats. So it can bring the recoil of the gun down, and you can run the gun long barrel. It's kind of like a sleeper build. I'll show up a quick clip of me running it like that in the firing range just so you can see how it shoots, but this gun is very solid. Highly recommend the G36, and it's definitely a B tier. This might surprise a bit of people, and I'm going to consider these the same gun, the SAG 545 AKs. So most AKs this wipe that are 545 are in the lower tier because they're a bit jumpier. They just don't shoot flat enough with how low the flesh is. And these are semi-auto, but these are very comparable to like the TX15 right now, where there's super low recoil, and you can basically just spam people at any range. And if you have higher tier rounds, which are easy to find in like ammo boxes, if you have BP, you can get away with BT, but I would recommend BP, BS, Eagleneck. If you can get your hands on any of those, these things shoot super flat. If you're getting headshots, people are insta-dying. If you have good aim, highly recommend these guns. Very solid. Okay, and then another gun that might surprise people that is good now is the PKP and the PKM. In the previous wipes, these guns were really bad. They had a ton of recoil. They're basically unusable. But this wipe, they buffed the recoil by a lot. They shoot pretty flat. They are a little buggy sometimes when aiming and shooting if you try to like un-ADS or anything like that. They are only loud, but they do shoot Mosin ammo, so if you can imagine a full auto Mosin, you can basically insta-kill anyone with anything. Doesn't really matter what they're using. I will say if you run these guns, you will have a lot of cheaters come after you, especially with the PKP, because it is for the gunsmith quest. So if you run these, you will most likely get cheated on, but as a weapon, they are pretty good. I've ran them a couple times. I still have a bunch of them that I'll probably be running. But very solid gun. Bad ergo, but they shoot pretty flat, and you can insta-kill anyone with it. And I will probably have to pit the SVD in B tier also. I'd say it's better than all the other DMRs. Last wipe, it was probably worse than all the other DMRs, but this thing got hard buffed. It feels good running it loud. Like if you just build like a decent stock on it, a foregrip, whatever, you run it with no muzzle device, just loud stock. It's solid. If you want to go suppressor and then go full recoil build, you could do that. Shoots really flat. You can actually spam this gun and hit shots now. And the bright side about 7.62 by 54 compared to the 308 guns is it is very easy to get high tier ammo for this thing early wipe. Like you can use this thing for kilo farming, same thing with the SVT, but I would pit it over the SVT obviously for 20 round mags, better attachments, better stats, and you can run good scopes on it. Very solid gun. Kind of more of like a budget option. Like I don't run it too much, but like I understand that the gun is really, really good. And I think that is it for the B tier guns. We are moving into A tier. So for the A tier guns, I don't know what we're doing with the GLs. The GLs almost need like their own category, right? I'm gonna pit the grenade launchers in A tier just because it's like, I don't know, like you're not really gonna be using these as like actual weapons. And there's weird gimmicks that can cause them to be useless. So a good example is like if anyone's ever played like Shoreline or let's say Customs, right? Customs, you have Power Station where you flip the switch to turn on Fortress Power. Those tile windows are unbreakable. So if people are shooting grenade launchers into unbreakable windows, same thing with some of the buses on Shoreline, you can basically direct hit somebody and it wouldn't do damage to those windows because like the fragments don't go through them. So these guns are kind of like chalked in some scenarios where you can't shoot people through things. Same thing with like labs, like server glass. It's like hard to fight people who are shooting through stuff like that. But they're like overpowered in hallways. Like if you're sitting second floor of 3-story dorms and you're just like holding an angle with the GL, you're unkillable. They're really cheesy. They're kind of just like, they're not really good guns to like play the game with, but they're like weird gimmick weapons that are overpowered in some scenarios. It's like, I'll put them A tier. They're very good guns. Another A tier gun this wipe. I'm gonna have to put the Adar in A tier. This gun is insane. Same with the TX. I'm gonna put these are basically the same gun, but the Adar is way cheaper. They basically have the same stats, fully modded. These guns are ridiculous how good they are this wipe. I think it was my first YouTube video of the wipe. I was running around with the Adar with a 2X and a suppressor. It was just the Rashala Guard Adar. You probably know what I'm talking about. But you don't even need a grip on it. You don't need to change the stock. This thing shoots flat. Like, Adar with a 2X feels unreal how good it is. You can mod them to make it feel different. Like, I'm telling you, run it budget as cheap as possible. Run it mid tier, run it high tier. This gun feels amazing. The only downside, once again, semi-auto, so you lose DPS if you're point blank on somebody. But if you see somebody on your screen, you can basically take the shot at any time. There's a lot of guns where like, I put the Val in that case, or SMGs where you're like, maybe I should let the guy get closer, or like I should wait for him to stop running horizontal so I can hit my shots. Adar is like, if they're on the screen, just start clicking. You'll kill them. This gun is insane, really good. You just don't want to use it up close. Another gun I will put into A tier is the 300 Blackout MCX. This gun, floaty, right? So like compared to an Adar, you're not going to hit every shot. You might want to wait sometimes before you start shooting. It's about the same as the Val when it comes to like the distance you want to start fighting people. But CBJ ammo, AP, CBJ is a lot more available, but like if you have AP, it is just super high pen. I'd pit it as like better than 5.56 ammo if you catch people up close. And yeah, I mean, it just insta-kills people. Like this gun is very consistent. I just don't like the gun because it's floaty, so personally I don't use it a lot, but when it comes to the grand scheme of things, it is one of the best guns in the game. Its time to kill is amazing. You can run 60 rounders on it. You can run like 40 rounders. A lot of people don't like packing 60, so run like a TV rig, swap the plates, keep the plates, doesn't matter. Run an alpha rig. Just run the 1x3 40 round mags. This thing just slams people. One of the best guns in the game for sure. I'll also put the HK into A tier. This gun is kind of weird. I would almost put it on like the same tier as the M4 in the sake of like it's bouncy, but with the attachment changes, this gun performs basically the same long barrel and short barrel. and you just gotta run like a hollow sight on it, run it like an SMG basically. If you get close on people, this thing shoots so fast, you can shoot good bullets. Like if you have 5.5A1 and a HK, people are insta-dying. If you have 6A1 and you're hitting good shots, people are dying quick. Like this gun slams people up close. I would not recommend this gun for any distance. You could put it on semi and hit like a one-tap cross map just because you have 5.56, like the most consistent bullet in the game. But I would try to stay close range with this thing. If you play it in the correct range, it's one of the best guns in the game. I haven't ran it too much this wipe, but it is a very solid choice. And then this is where things probably get a little weird for some people that haven't played. I will definitely have to put this in a video. But the SKS, the amount that this gun got buffed this wipe is unnecessary. Like, if you run a best in slot SKS, it clears every single gun in the entire game. I don't know what the design choice was behind this. This is why I was mentioning guns like the 7.62 AKs, the Vepers, the gun that would be better than the RSAS, the SRs. Like, this gun, I don't understand the design choice in making it as good as it is. You get it off the rip off low-level traders, and it's not that expensive to mod. You're never getting contested for attachments on the traders. They're not running out. This thing is just like the lowest recoil gun in the entire game. It literally has like the same recoil as an STM, but you can shoot BP out of it. You can shoot PP ammo out of it. I don't know. This gun is absurd. The only use case where it might get rough is if you get point blanked, because it is a semi-auto gun. When it comes to any of the semi-autos in the game, it is the best. Hands down, no argument. I would actually say OPSKS is what you're running the scope on. So I could say if these guns were considered the same gun, OPSKS top tier. I'll move this down to like F tier. Like you don't really want to run the gun without a scope on it. I'm talking if you put a voodoo scope or a hollow sight and an OPSKS on the rear mount, this gun just like unexpectedly the best gun in the game. I'll definitely put clips in. And then for other guns, AUG A1 and A3 for the most part are like the same thing. You want to be running the A3 because the A3 is the one that has the mount for the actual things. You can see it in the picture. A1 has like the default scope. The A3 is the one that you run the dots on. So just for the sake of like them being the same gun, I'm not going to include those. Just buy the A3 or swap out the mount to make the A1 and A3. A3, AUG, another questionable gun that got insanely buffed out of nowhere. I would argue it is probably... Nah, I'd say it's the second best gun in the game right now. The AUG is my most used gun in the game by far. It has really good ergo. You don't have to mod it at all. You just put a Saker suppressor on it, a laser, and a hollow. It is the best AR in the game, no questions asked. It shoots stupid flat. You can shoot cross map. You can put a scope on it and snipe with it. It still feels good up close if you got like a Voodoo as like your scope or any of the 30mm scopes. Just an amazing gun. I'll throw clips in for all the S tier weapons. This thing clears everything in the whole game. If you had like, once you get the AUG unlocked, there's no real reason you would ever use an MDR. So if you're like early gamed and you have an MDR laying around just because you're like USEC or something, run it. But once you get access to the AUG and the SKS, you shouldn't really be using anything in the game other than those two guns. And let's move on to the SA58 and the 308 MDR. I would argue the 308 MDR is the best gun in the game. I think nothing comes close to it. It has really, really good ergo. You barely have to mod it. It's just foregrip, muzzle, scope, laser. You can put 25 rounders in it now with the recent update. M80 and M62 is available on traders, so it shoots the best bullet in the game. High flash, high pen, insanely fast bullet velocity. It's like the best close range gun in the game. If you're up close to somebody, you're basically going to 2-tap anyone in the game. Or you'll hit like a, you know, if they have best in slot armor, like you might hit them 4 or 5 times. But if you have M61 or whatever, of course, like if you have the highest pen ammo in any scenario that you can't buy, then of course you can kill anyone with anything. But just for what you can buy, not including crafting, not including anything, it's just the most well-rounded gun. Any scenario you get into a fight, it always performs. Like, you're never fighting at a range and be like, damn, if I didn't have a 308 MDR, I would have won that. Like, you're never saying that. This gun's amazing. Same thing with the SA-58. MDR is definitely better than the SA-58, but the SA-58 is better than everything else in the game. This gun got insanely hard buff this wipe. You can run it short barrel, mid barrel, long barrel, does not matter. You can literally put a red dot on it and just run it stock and it shoots flat. This gun got hard buffed. Same thing with the MDR, shoots the same ammo. You can put a 50 round drum on it, put 30 rounders on it that have good ergo, by the way. There's a couple builds that are really good for it. I'll throw some up on screen. And yeah, if you put it semi-auto and you spam click it, it will shoot flatter than the M1A and the SR25, all these guns, the G28. It shoots flatter than all of them on semi-auto. And when you full auto it, you can get like, you can probably get like 5 or 6 bullets that shoot dead flat before the spray starts getting a little crazy. So you can full auto people and just insta kill them. If you're like 30 bullets deep into a full auto, it can start getting jumpy, but you'll basically never get to that point. Top tier gun, nothing really comes close to them. Sig Spear I'll also put up here. The problem with the Sig Spear, I'll put it at the bottom of S tier for the sake of this gun is unreasonably priced. It is like, it's usually like 450, 500k in the fleet or something like absolutely stupid. And the ammo is really, really expensive, but the ammo is really good. The hybrid ammo, you can just look it up on the wiki. I'll pull up the stats for it. Sig hybrid ammo has 47 pen and 72 damage. FMJ has 36 pen, 80 damage. So it's very comparable to like M80 and M62. Just insane gun. Another gun that feels really good with a cannon sight for some reason. It does feel a little bit floaty, so you'll get into fights where you're trying to like spam it and you might be missing shots, but if you fight people up close, good fire rate, insane gun. Just definitely top tier. Yeah, these guns, I'm just considering like there's no reason you'd ever use them over like the A3 and the OPSKS, because you basically get all these guns at the same time. As soon as you get level 15, you will never buy these guns for any reason. I don't even want to like rank them because it's like, I don't really care to. I'll put them somewhere. I'll sort through everything where I think best in slot is. So once again, we're going to do best guns in the top left, and then the bottom right will be the worst of the category. I'm going to organize everything, and I will do a little recap. Okay, that is the finalized tier list. These are currently the best guns in the game for PvP in order, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about the current list. What would you change? What do you heavily agree or disagree with? Leave a comment down below, or even better, stop by the Twitch stream. Let me know your opinion in real time. Never did a video like this, so definitely let me know. Do you want to see more videos like this in the future or not? As always, thank you guys for watching the video, and I will have another upload here soon. Peace.